So, hi. First of all, thank you for coming today, and special thanks for staying here for my talk. Um, my name is Gloria. Right now, I'm the QA engineer at La Luz, and before that, I was the QA engineer at Typeform. I'm also the co-founder and co-organizer of Backbuster Barcelona, a meetup here about agile and quality and things like that. Right now, I'm curious about how many QAs or testers do we have in the audience? Can you please raise? OK, cool. We have some. Because I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be the only QA or tester in the conference. So probably right now you're wondering what I'm doing here. Because mostly all the profiles are software engineers or sysadmin people, and I am a tester. Yes, I am. So the thing was that some people encouraged me to send some papers because they thought that I had something to say about quality. And I was thinking, yeah, it's true, I have something to say about quality, but the audience? Sysadmin people? Come on. What can I say about that? And I thought, yeah, it makes sense because we have things in common that probably they don't know. So the agenda for today, we are going to cover all these topics. We are going to talk about quality, of course, also about the different roles you can find about testing, and the most special thing, what do we have in common? So first question, what is QA for you? Can someone that is not a tester answer this question, please? Come on. Or you don't know what QA means? And about quality, what is quality for you? So let's start for QA. QA basically stands for quality assurance and are all the activities that you do in order to provide confidence that the product is working fine. But people tend to think that quality are tests, and this is not true. Testing and tests are part of the quality assurance, are part of these activities, but they are totally different things. So when we're talking about QA, we are talking about activities that we perform, not testing, not test. And about quality, I mean, it's really difficult to explain what quality is because sometimes it's an abstract concept. Each person has a different idea of it, and it's good because, as you can see, it's the pragmatic interpretation as the superiority or non-inferiority of something. And you, as a team, you need to define this something. What is quality for you? I don't know. Probably you can say if we find X number of bugs, that means that the product has quality. Or for another company is, OK, if that product doesn't have bugs, that means that we have quality on it. And this is super important, should be a team responsibility. And what about our roles? We have different types of roles. We have different types of testers or different types of QA, as you can see it. First of all, we have the test engineer. Then we have the software engineering test. And finally, we have the QA engineer. Usually, I mean, don't take this as a big truth because each company has a different explanation of it. But usually, test engineers are product experts, are people that they know a lot about the product. And when they do the testing, they perform it on behalf of the user. They are thinking about what the user is going to do with the product. And this is the things that they do. So they are mimicking the user, and their main objective is looking for bugs. Sometimes they spend time writing automated tests, but sometimes they spend time doing manual tests. Also, we have the software engineering test. This is a different role. Nowadays, it's a trend that all the companies, they say that they have a software engineering test, but it is not true. The thing is that they are developers. They also code, and they put things in production. But their main objective, their main concern, is about quality and test infrastructure. So they are going to add tests. They are going to do a lot of things in order to check that everything has quality, that is testable, and refactors code to make everything better. And finally, we have the QA engineer. This type of role fills the gap between engineering and product. It also performs the test thinking in the user, but not on the behalf of the user. That means that it's in a different state. Although it's not a developer role, it's always thinking about the product, that it should be testable, and also about the test infrastructure. So that means that it's going to be pushing a lot, it's going to be a pain in the ass, asking all the time about quality. And of course, it's super important, best practices, that all the teams are working more or less in the same way, and they are doing it right. And as I said before, the test engineer is looking for bugs. But in that case, the QA engineer, what they try to do is prevent those bugs. So if we have here the life cycle of the development, you can see more or less where they are every role. So the software engineer test is more focused in the development phase. Meanwhile, the test engineer is more focused in the validation phase. And the QA engineer covers all the phases. So for example, in our case, I am a QA engineer at Holaluz, so I take care more or less of all the phases. But we have some developers that, although they are not expert in quality, they are taking care that the product is testable and we have a good testing infrastructure. We don't have also the test engineer role, but we have our product owner that is checking all the time when a user story is done, that from a user perspective, everything is fine, and there are no weird bugs for the user. So after all those explanations, do you think that we have things in common? Can you raise your hand if you think that we have something in common? Well, more or less. So those are the points that I think that we share, and we are going to see all the points with a little bit more of detail. But basically, from my point of view, DevOps and QA should be a cultural thing. We are lazy people, we share objectives, and we have tools in common. First one, cultural thing. I know that there are a lot of people related with sysadmin. They are really pissed off when they say, your role is DevOps, because they are thinking, no, it's not a role. It's something that should happen. And apart from that, another thing that we have in common is that we are trying to break the silos. Long time ago, all the activities related with testing were done at the end of the development. And right now, all the testers and QA, we are trying to break that. We are trying to be part of the development. In the same way that all the things related with maintenance or deployments were seen as a totally different thing. And with the DevOps movement, we are trying to move it more into the development phase and close working to the developers. So this is why we want to increase the collaboration between different roles, because we want to understand what is happening in order to do our works in a better way. And this is another thing, that we are moving into a developer role with a specialty. Because, as I said before, right now, for example, in QA, everybody wants to have a software engineering test. Everybody wants to have a person that is able to produce code, that is able somehow, if someone is going to take holidays, to take this place, to do something else. So at the end, probably we're going to end up being developers, but with some specialty. And of course, we share responsibility. I mean, it's not fair that if the infrastructure is down, they are pointing only the sysadmin guys, like it's your fault. Or if there is a bug in production, they are pointing the testers of the QA, kind of like, you didn't do your job in a good way. It is not fair. It should be the whole team. And of course, without the right culture, DevOps and QA are only cool words, and that's it. You can say, yes, well, I have a QA in my team. Yes, but this QA probably is doing the test at the end of the development phase. Is adding value for you? No, it's not. Or, yes, I have DevOps because we have the sysadmin guys there in a corner doing things. But they are doing the things that the developers need in order to have a good infrastructure. And how this works for us. In Olaluz, for example. In Olaluz, we're trying to move into different areas. You can see there the different profiles with the specialty and the different areas. And we try to do some things different. For example, I'm QA, but sometimes if front-end people are in a rush, I try to help them. Even I fix bugs. Or I do little things in infrastructure if I need it for my test. And in the same way, other developers, if I am in a rush, they are helping me with the automated test or with the QA. In the ideal case is that everybody goes into the center, that everybody more or less are able to move between different areas. And we are lazy people. Or in the way that I would like to see it, we are smart people. Come on, I hate manual tasks. I hate when I have to do manual testing. It's super boring. I know that it's important, but sometimes it's really annoying that I have to do all the tasks again and again and again. And for sysadmin people, the same way. You want to automate everything. We hate manual tasks. So for us, automation is a cornerstone. It helps us to have up-to-date documentation. If everything is automated, that means that we can focus on other valuable activities or other fun activities, not doing the same thing again and again. We save time, and of course, really important, we reduce the chance of a human error. Because if we do the things again and again, and it's boring for us, we're not going to put attention. We're going to do the thing, and that's it. And we share objectives. As a QA, I don't want to push bugs to production. And probably, as you don't want to push bugs into production as well, because that means an infrastructure could be down. And probably the person that is going to be on call is not going to be happy. We want quick feedback. QA wants quick feedback in order to see that the product is working fine, that it is not having bugs, and you need quick feedback as well in order to know if the infrastructure you're building is correct or not, if it's the things that development is needed. And as I said before, we want to work close to developers because we want to understand what is happening in order to do our jobs in a better way. And this is curious. I don't know if all the people is aware about that. We have tools in common. We are starting to use tools that are not QA-friendly or are not thinking of, or were not built in order thinking about QA or testing, like Docker or Jenkins or Travis. So those are the main reasons why a QA probably wants to use Docker. I'm doing automation using Cucumber with Ruby, and developers, for example, front-end, are using a different language, different tools, but I want them to use my test because they are useful for them. So what happens that if I say, hey, execute my test, they need to install Cucumber and Ruby in their machines. And probably for them, it's going to be a pain in the ass. Sorry. So this is why I have everything in a Docker container, because in that way, they can execute my test only using a command without having to install anything. Also, for testers or QAs are really important that each time that we execute a test, it has a clean state. That means that these tests have the data that we need. Yeah, thank you. Sorry. That means that these tests have the data that we need in order to execute them. So again, with Docker, I can kill a container and create a new one with all the things that I need. Another cool thing is that we can parallelize tests in an easy way. And if we can parallelize test executions, that means that we can save time and do different things. And of course, it's easy to maintain. And about the continuous integration tools, for testers are really important that we do continuous integration. Because in that way, we can assure that all the code that we are developing is working fine, and we don't have bugs. And everything, when it's integrated, is going to work. That is really important. And of course, continuous delivery, continuous deployment. Because if you push little chunks of code in production little by little, for sure that if you find a bug, it's going to be easier to understand what is happening or to find them. But if you push to production a big chunk of code and something is broken, probably it's going to be hard for you to understand what is happening or to find out what were the changes. And of course, for automated regression testing is really cool, because that means that in an easy way, we can execute things. And you can, now probably you're thinking, yeah, all these things you're explaining are really cool, but how does this work, more or less? So this is the schema of what we have right now in Oraluz. So basically, what we are doing is that when someone pushes, tries to open a pull request, GitHub talks with Jenkins. And Jenkins, what it does is that we have Docker Compose in order to make everything easier. And we do 3 different executions for the UI. One with Edge, one with Firefox, and another one with Chrome. So we have different containers. One with a tool that we use to execute the test, in that case, Cucumber. Another one with the application. And finally, the browser itself. The weird part of this one is that we can have a container with Chrome and Firefox because Selenium provides that images, but we have a problem with browsers like Edge because it's not that easy to put it in an image, and this is why we are using an external service called BrowserStack that makes everything easier. So, as a takeaways from this talk, I hope that you have in mind that QA and Devops should be part of the team culture instead of specific roles, that we can learn a lot from each other. I mean, as you can see, nowadays it's a people from testing and QA are starting to use this type of tools, that probably you have more knowledge and you can share that knowledge with them in order to make everything easier. And we share objectives. So if we share objectives, that means that we are a team and we should work together. So thank you. Questions?
Data that has to be present on your system before you're running your test?
I mean, right now in La Luz, we have to improve that. So we are not doing it in a correct way. But ideally, your automated test should create the data that it needs before starting the execution.
All right. Yeah, so that's ideally, but do you have anything in place, or you just basically have thinking?
Right now we don't have this in place, but we are working in order to have it.
Okay, thank you.
Hola. Hola, Luz.
¿Dónde? Hola.
Hola. Thank you for your presentation. I have several questions, actually, but I'm more interested on how your work has changed in continuous delivery-based approach. So first of all, how do you fit your test stages into a continuous delivery pipeline?
Okay, so basically, I do some manual tests before that, but each time that a pull request is opened, all the tests are executed automatically. So before it's going to be deployed, we are 100% sure that everything is working fine.
Yeah, but do you have different tests for the different environments in non-production before going to production?
When do you? We have unit tests and we have functional tests. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, and that's it. We don't have more. The tests that we are creating, the functional ones, that test should be able to be executed in each environment. Doesn't matter if it's pre-production or staging.
How long regression tests take?
Right now, around 4 minutes.
4 minutes?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
First of all, thanks for the talk. I see a question. In Hola Luz, where are you running these Dockers? In the same machine of Jenkins? Or?
Yes, in Jenkins.
Yes? And how you prevent to scale it, this machine, if you have a lot of tests or?
How we scale the machines?
Yes.
So the thing is that we have some developers that are more sysadmins and specialists, and they are the ones that take care of it. So I create the Docker containers, I do the magic, and other ones are taking care of the escalation.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Hi. Do you explain to us how to do the regression testing and functional testing? How about your load testing and stress testing?
Right now, we're not doing this kind of testing right now. But probably in the future, we should start thinking about that.
I'm just wondering, how do you manage about the broken tests? Let's say if you have UI tests for frontend, if some change of the pages broken your UI test, who's in charge to fix those tests? And also for functional and regression tests?
So basically, the first one that noticed that this test is broken. So if one developer is working on it and the test is broken, is in charge of fixing it. If he is not able or she is not able because he doesn't have all the knowledge, she or he pings me, and then we fix it together. But the one that sees that the test is broken is responsible to fix it, or at least to push for fix in order to fix it.
But I mean, that's really happens because sometimes we thought the one who's broken something, who should fix it, but
Yes,
it not always happens,
I
right?
mean, it really happens because if the test doesn't pass, they cannot merge the code into master. So they need to fix it, for sure. So this is the way we are preventing. I mean, if we have some text in the pull request that if the test doesn't pass, they cannot merge it. So they need to fix it first.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Hello. Thanks for this topic. So usually in QA, the bug in production, it's QA fault or dev fault?
Sorry?
If there is a bug in production
Yeah.
after moving the code,
Yes.
is that bug, we call it QA fault or dev fault?
Team fault. Team fault.
No more questions? No? Okay, so please, another applause for Gloria. Please.